Danny, welcome to the show.
Hey mate, thank you.
Big night for you tomorrow, Danny. You get to captain the Exiles in a unique game.
Yeah, very excited. Obviously it's a new concept from the RFL. But talking to the other expats that are playing over here in the Super League, it's a very exciting time, and everyone that's been nominated to be in the team just hoping that we get a chance to pull on that jersey, because it's a pretty powerful thing to have a New Zealand and an Australian coming together for one team and for one cause, and to play a test match against England. So as much as it's not a test match as such, it's a chance for us to have that one last chance to play on that sort of level and on that stage. So everyone's looking forward to it.
Oh, we're looking forward to a competitive game. I want to go back to the time you would have first come to the attention of British Rugby League fans back in 1995 when you toured the country with the Australian schoolboys. That's a very, very special honour for a young rugby league player from Australia.
Yeah, it was a huge goal. When I left home, I was living sort of in a place called Taree, which is a couple of hours away from Newcastle, and so I went to Newcastle at 16 to develop as a footballer, but finish my schooling, and then got a chance to play in the Australian schoolboys, which was a big honour for myself. And we came over here to Leeds and played in a lot of games against Bala, and we went to France and played down there. And now a lot of the players that were in that Australian team have gone on and kicked on and had great careers in rugby league. So yeah, those experiences you draw on a lot, and to say that you've made that team, it's a great honour. And I was very lucky enough to go on and play for the country in Australia as well.
You come back off that tour and your focus was then on trying to break into the Newcastle Knights first team at a special time for the Knights, 1997, but a difficult time for rugby league in Australia.
Yeah, we had the Super League and RL war, and there was a lot of heartbreak. There was a lot of emotion in and around the game at that time, and Newcastle was probably a swinging seat, if I can say that, where probably if Newcastle went to the Super League, it might have succeeded and had enough strength in numbers to go on and be the Super League in Australia. But the Knights stuck with the RL and played in possibly, I still think, one of the best grand finals that has been. And I was in and around the club at that time, and just got to hang out in first grade, and was used at training as someone they would run at and things like that, and got the chance to experience what rugby league can do and sport can do for a town. And there's a lot of hardships in Newcastle over the years, and it's a one team, one town, and they all got right behind it, and it was a huge thing for the place to win.
And you were coached to that victory, your team was coached to that victory by a special man, a man well known over here, Mal Reilly.
Yeah, Mal was brought in to probably, I wouldn't say straighten the place out, but he was brought there to do a job. He had an aura about him, and first thing he wanted to do was set the scene. So he sent off a letter to everyone that was contracted at the Knights from under 16 to right up to first grade, and outlined what he expected of every player. And if you saw him in the gym, he'd come up to you and challenge you, and everything was a challenge to Mal, and probably in his life this day it probably is as well. So he goes down as a very influential person in the history of the Newcastle Knights.
When we speak to people about Mal Reilly, anybody that's played underneath him has a story about Mal accepting a challenge, or if the boys threw down the gauntlet to Mal Reilly, he'd accept it and take on the challenge, no matter how physically difficult it was. Do you have any stories from the time at Newcastle?
Oh yeah, he wanted to have a fight with one of our players, Steve Crowe. Crowe used to bait him a bit, and the next thing, they had a press conference, even a mock press conference, and they really built it up, and a bit of media got there, and they obviously had the pads and stuff on, the protective gearing, but it ended up, we only went for about a minute and a half, but you could see, Crowe got a couple of good ones on him, but Mal wanted to do anything. He's a winner, so he's really to bite, kick, scratch, just to win. But I think he got done on points. But and then the other time we went to the pool, it was a 50-metre pool, and he turned up in his suit just for a recovery, and the boys were baiting him, going, "Oh, Mal, but you couldn't go 50 metres underwater." And he said, "Yeah, of course I can." And he said, "Give me your trunks." So he jumped in, got changed, and jumped in the pool, and there he goes. Did 50 metres, no trouble. But his head came up. It was like a beetroot, and I think he was going to have himself pass away before he did come up, because he's that sort of man of his word, and a challenge is a challenge.
Well, he instilled determination in you as players, and then you had follow-up, I guess maybe the intellectual side of rugby league followed Mal in Warren Ryan, who became known as a guru of coaching, really.
Yeah, still to this day, I think a lot of coaches call on Warren for advice, and a lot of the theories and things in place in the modern game have probably a lot to do with Warren. And he set up a very good period, a bit of a golden period there at Newcastle, and he made some tough calls. And we between 2000 and 2003, we probably had a couple of chances to win some competition at the grand finals, and we had Warren Ryan. And then we had Michael Hagan, and Hayes came in, and he was a bit of a personality manager, and he did things really well, and got the boys to play for him. And we had a win in 2001, which we probably should have won one in 2000, which is a regret. But a box to be ticked is a premiership, and we're lucky to do that in 2001.
Absolutely. And personally, your momentum continued, and you returned to these shores where you'd been in 1995 as a schoolboy. You came back in 2001 as an Australian Test player to play in an Ashes series against a big physical Great Britain team.
Yeah, Great Britain, I love that whole concept of playing Great Britain. You obviously play England these days, and they're trying to get the other countries developed. But if it ever comes back to an Ashes series in a Great Britain, that'd be well received, and probably another kangaroo tour. They're the things that players back then wanted to get on. And I was lucky enough. My first representative experience was to be on tour on a kangaroo tour, and we played England, and they were a team that we're probably not used to playing against in Australia, where they're very physical. The Morleys and in his prime was, and Barry McDermott and all these players that were Stu Fielden back then, unbelievable. And we struggled against them, and it was just that probably the last couple of minutes, or we'd probably just come home on the back of one of our good players.
You got a close look at how physical they were in the deciding one, the game 3, when the two front rows kicked off.
Yeah, it's Barry, for some reason, trying to chase me around the field, which I needed a bit of help. So the next scrum, I had to sort of close the curtains and get me big boys in front of me. So I just jumped out the back. But he's a pretty scary bloke, Barry, when he wanted to be in his prime. And only a couple of weeks ago, I played with a busted eye. And just the respect I had for someone like that who's played his whole career in a real tough position in front row. And I had a lot of respect for Barry back then, and still have.
Absolutely. He was one of the tough guys in the Great Britain side. When you went back to Australia, season kicked off again with Newcastle, and you got selected to play in what I guess is envied over here a bit in the State of Origin series. You turned out to break records for them as most consecutive appearances for New South Wales and most appearances as captain. How special is State of Origin for an Australian rugby league player?
Yeah, well, State of Origin is a showpiece. It's a pinnacle in a way of the attention that it gets, media-wise, the public. Everyone just gets involved, and it's to be honest, it's one of the greatest sporting rivalries in sport, definitely in Australia. But in all codes, there's no concept like that captures the imagination of the rugby league public. And still to this day, it's obviously New South Wales coming off a 5 to 6 series losses, and it's hard to take at the moment in New South Wales, but everyone still turns up and watches that, and the wheel will turn. And this Queensland team that's running around at the moment is one of the greatest teams I think that's definitely ever played for Origin, and the players that they got as once in a lifetime players.
I want to ask you about the rivalry. If it was false, I don't think the series could last for 30 years. How intense is the rivalry between the two sets of players? What feelings do you have towards Queensland when it comes to State of Origin time?
Well, how it all started back in the day was all the Queensland players would come down and play in the New South Wales Rugby League competition, and that was obviously the best competition for rugby leagues. And then they started this Origin concept, and we'll play Queensland. And the Queensland players were probably amateur and not professional, probably semi-professional, and all the Queenslanders used to play for the New South Wales Rugby League, so they'd go up there and batter them, by a lot of points and put big margins on them. And then they've come up with this idea that, hang on, no, if you're from your origin, which is Queensland, Queenslanders go back and play for those, and New South Wales play for New South Wales, and then it kicked off, because then there was all these players that were playing in Sydney from Queensland had mates in that New South Wales team, and then it all just happened through a lot of aggression, and that's where the underdog tag came from. A lot of people got behind Queensland because, oh, hang on, New South Wales got all the best players, but it's definitely changed now. When
you look at the Origin games now as I guess a spectator over here, do you miss it?
I'm just privileged, I think, to have my time there, and I'm just privileged to be. I was part of that, and to say I was a part of that, But you know, it's an intense pressure environment, and you've got to be ready for that. And you know, I just want to see New South Wales do well, because they deserve to do well. The people there at the moment are doing all the right things to have some success, and I don't think it's too far away. And these players, these young kids that are coming through now, are very, very good players for New South Wales, and hopefully we'll have a bit of. Not saying we're going to go on a run of 5 series wins. I don't think that'll be done for a long time, but hopefully we can get a couple of series away.
We left State of Origin, and you put the NRL indeed behind you and decided to come over here and play in England, and we'll speak more about that after the break. Join us then when we speak to Danny about signing for the Rhinos.